All right, everybody. Going to start a new segment called Hot Takes. Which I know is not original or anything, but and it's not clickbait stuff. It's like actual arguments I'm trying to make or things I might feel I'm in the minority on that I truly believe. It's not just a headline, you know, gotcha title or something like that. But my first hot take is that Kyrie Irving is more responsible than LeBron James for winning their first title in 2016. And we're going to kind of go through the numbers here. But my main argument with this is that Kyrie's defensive contributions on Steph Curry is what largely swung that series in favor of Cleveland. And while I understand that LeBron has a better statistical output than Kyrie in this series, essentially across the board, not in everything, but almost, Kyrie's right behind him for a lot of these offensive categories, right? And then we're going to look at his defensive contributions on Steph Curry, what he did to Steph Curry. And in my opinion, when you add that to Kyrie's offensive output, I think that Kyrie Irving did more to win that series for Cleveland than LeBron did. And I feel like I'm in the minority on that. I mean, some people have made this point before, so this one's not exactly totally out there, but this probably is definitely a minority opinion. And so again, I'm going to say for the record, LeBron is a better player than Kyrie. That's not my argument. We're specifically talking about the 2016 finals in which Kyrie largely guarded Steph, and throwing that in with also what he did on offense, right? Kyrie was a bigger piece to the puzzle and overall contributed more than LeBron in that singular final series. Correct? That's my argument. And so we're going to look at their stats, and then we're going to look at Steph Curry's stats compared to the playoffs and the regular season that year. So let's just keep in mind, this is the year that the Golden State Warriors went 73-9. So let's keep that in mind. This is 2015, 2016. They went 73-9. Their offensive rating was, not that it really matters, 114.5. Defensive rating was almost 104. And again, they lost the finals. But this was the year they went 73-9, right? The greatest record of all time in the NBA. And they won the finals the year before that. So Golden State was humming at this point, right? Steph Curry was humming. They were all clicking. I mean, this was largely, this was part of one of the greatest runs we've ever seen by any singular team or player in the history of the NBA. So 2015, 2016, Steph led the league in points per game with 30.1. He led the league in free throw percentage, not that that's like a huge factor, at almost 91%. He also led the league in steals, 2.1, which I didn't know that when I was starting to do research for this. His effective field goal percentage was 63%. That's off the charts. He's shooting almost 64.5% this year, which we'll see where he ends up this year. But to date, this is his, in terms of just an effective field goal percentage, right? This is his greatest, this is probably his greatest statistical season that he's had up to this year, which is really saying something, right? His field goal percentage is the best it's been since, again, not counting this year because this year is still largely underway. We're only like a quarter of the way through the season. But up to this point, and minus this year, this is the greatest season probably statistically that Steph Curry has had. It is his highest field goal percentage, his highest effective field goal percentage. Looks like slightly less. It's his second best 2-point field goal. His third best 2-point field goal percentage. Third best by just a little bit. His 3-point percentage for this year is essentially the best. You have one where he had 45.5%. He shot 45.4%. So statistically across the board, when you average it out, this has been Steph Curry's best year so far. I think that's probably safe to say. especially when you throw in the 30 points a game. You could make an argument perhaps for 2020, 21, 22. But again, he didn't shoot as high a field goal percentage overall. He didn't shoot as good of a 3-point field goal percentage. He did shoot a better 2-point field goal percentage. But his overall effective field goal percentage was much lower, 25 points lower. So, or 2.5 points lower. So this Steph Curry had it going this year, right? There's no doubt about that. There's definitely wasn't a down year. This was above average. This is on the higher end of Steph Curry performance. We can also see here in these playoffs, 25 points per game, almost 92% from the free throw line. His effective field goal percentage was almost 56%. That's still really high. 2-point field goal percentage was 49%. So again, this is like primetime Golden State and Steph Curry. In the first two series of this playoff year, Steph Curry was a little banged up, but he does come back and he starts and plays in 7 games in the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors, in which he averaged 28 points. Field goal percentage was 44.5. 3-point field goal percentage was almost 42. So the series before that, Steph Curry was back, and he also played the second most minutes, just behind Draymond Green for the Warriors. So he was officially back the series before Golden State played Cleveland in the NBA Finals. So that's also something to keep in mind. A lot of people brought up that he was dinged up in the first 2 series, which is true, but he still averaged great numbers in the second round. Not so much in the first round versus the Rockets. But then in the Western Conference Finals this year, he was definitely back. There's no question about that. He was easily the best player on Golden State, played the second most minutes in the Western Conference Finals, and was easily their best player, averaging 28 points a game. So he was definitely back by this time, right? And we can look overall what he averaged, 25 points. Again, he did really good in the playoffs overall. So I just want to keep that in mind. Now let's go over Kyrie and LeBron stats comparatively just for this finals. So they both played in every game. LeBron had 19 more minutes, shot 10 more field goals. He had about a 3 percentage points better field goal percentage. Kyrie was much better from, I guess about the same. He was better from 3-point percentage, shot a much better free throw percentage. They average about the same minutes. LeBron's got about 2.5 more minutes per game. Of course, LeBron is averaging, 1.5 more blocks per game, half more steals, so about the same. And we'll see here in a second, LeBron has a higher usage rate. So again, he's got about 5 more assists per game. He's got more rebounds. Again, I'm not arguing how good statistically LeBron is compared to Kyrie, right? Now, their points are pretty close, and you would expect LeBron to have more rebounds, correct? And LeBron also dominates the ball a lot more than Kyrie, even though Kyrie's a point guard. So I'm not even totally surprised that he averages more assists. But again, these are great numbers, right? No one's arguing that. But Kyrie is not far from him on the offensive end, all things considered, right? Shot much better from 3, shot a better free throw percentage, played slightly less minutes. And so I understand that LeBron statistically is better than Kyrie in this series, right? That's not really my argument. So just want to get these numbers out of the way so that we're clear who was doing what. These are the advanced stats, which I know are not everything, but just gives us another layer to look at. Again, Kyrie's offensive rating slightly better. He's probably being a little more efficient than LeBron. His defensive rating is worse, which you would think, considering I'm saying how good he was on defense. Again, he's guarding the best player, arguably between Curry and James, looking back now, right? Between Curry and James, I mean, it could be argued that Kyrie Irving was having to guard the best player on the floor, perhaps. Just from a simple offensive scoring standpoint, right? Curry, I think, this is probably a 50-50 toss-up, but in terms of just putting the ball in the hole, you could argue that maybe Curry is slightly better given he's such a good three-point shooter. And he definitely moves around a lot more without the ball. Again, LeBron's much more of a facilitator than Curry probably is. And so just from a purely scoring standpoint, you could say that Curry's a little bit of a harder matchup than LeBron just from scoring. Again, also having to guard the best player, right, you would maybe expect the defensive rating to be a little worse for Curry, right? And Curry still got his from time to time in some games, but we're talking about 3 or 4 games here, and we'll look at them where essentially Irving essentially, by Curry standards, shuts down Curry or definitely limits him. LeBron's got a higher usage rate, much higher in turnovers. LeBron had like 13, 14 more turnovers for the series. About the same in steals. LeBron's better in blocks, a better assist percentage, rebounds, etc. We all kind of expect that. Effective field goal percentage, they're a lot closer. The true shooting percentage, Kyrie Irving actually edges out LeBron a little bit. So I think true shooting is just essentially adding in free throws. Effective field goal percentage is your 2s and 3s. So that kind of makes sense. So again, in terms of scoring, right, Kyrie's right behind LeBron. He's really not far off. He's like 1.5 points, 2 points behind LeBron, and shooting much better from 3, shooting much better from the free throw line. And, LeBron, of course, having the higher usage rate, right, and definitely dominates the ball more than Kyrie, even though Kyrie's a point guard, right? He's a scoring guard. He's not like a Steve Nash point guard, right? So I do expect some of the numbers to be higher for LeBron in terms of something like assists, right? And they're pretty close on steals. I expect LeBron to have more rebounds as well, right? So none of these numbers, in my opinion, are really shocking. But just should be kept in mind that Kyrie is right behind LeBron in terms of scoring. Now we're going to look at Steph Curry's just the raw stats for Curry in this finals, right? And keep in mind that Kyrie is guarding him, right? He averaged 28 points per game the series before this against the Thunder. He averaged 30 points a game for the season. And we can see here in the finals, he averages less than 23. That's a 5-point difference from the series before. That's almost an 8-point difference from his regular season. His 3-point percentage was 40%. That's almost 6% lower. And his field goal percentage was 40% as well. That's almost 10 points lower. So, again, we can see a huge drop-off from the regular season and the series before against the Warriors for Steph Curry, right? This is almost entirely Kyrie Irving here. To be the second best scorer on your team and to guard the other team's best player is really remarkable. Like, you have to tip your hat to that. And keep in mind that Steph Curry is the straw that stirs this drink for the Warriors, right? He is what makes everything so much easier for everyone around him, including someone like Klay Thompson or a Draymond Green, even though Draymond's not much of an offensive guy. But again, if Draymond's just kind of hanging out in the post or what have you, or maybe getting an open 3 here and there, to limit Curry, to make Curry struggle, to put more pressure on everyone else because Curry is not doing so well or can't get as many open looks, things like that. That over the course of a game and a series pays huge dividends. And Kyrie was all over Steph Curry. He got several blocks on him. He got steals on him. He was making him miss shots. He was hounding him. Kyrie's probably a little more athletic than Curry in terms, especially at this point in their career, in terms of like quickness and just overall speed, hops, etc. So Kyrie's defense on Steph Curry is very evident. It's very evident when you look at the stats. And now we can go to the advanced stats for Steph Curry. a 102 offensive rating for Steph Curry is pretty remarkable. That's pretty bad for Steph Curry standards. And so we can see here for 2015-2016 for the season, he had a 125 offensive rating. That is unheard of. That's freaking crazy, which is still, besides this year, because he's been so efficient, it's his highest offensive rating that he's had. And his defensive rating, even his defensive rating of 111, is still pretty bad. Remember, Curry had to guard Kyrie a lot too, and so Kyrie is essentially getting the better of Steph Curry on the offensive and defensive end. Kyrie's putting a lot of pressure on Curry. Whenever Kyrie has the ball, he's outscoring him. He's playing better defense on him. He's shooting better averages. I mean, people need to understand the effect that Kyrie had in this series on Curry, right? I mean, to go out there and essentially, for all intents and purposes, shut down Steph Curry, I mean, that's what won the series, in my opinion, for Cleveland, right? If you take away Kyrie, I think he is harder to replace in that series, matchup purposes, than LeBron would be. LeBron, you're essentially trying to, if you were to try and replace him, you'd essentially be trying to add 2 or 3 guys who can just fill those numbers up that he missed, right? I feel like that's a little bit easier to get than to understand that Kyrie dominated the other team's best player on both ends of the floor. He was making Curry work. He was scoring on Curry more than Curry was scoring on him. And again, his defense on Curry cannot go understated how important that was. A 125 offensive rating for the season, and then to hold Curry to a 102 offensive rating in the finals, that really says it all right there, right? You look at his true shooting percentage. Again, he shot 60 effective field goal percentage. He shot 63% for the season. He has a 10-point fall off like that. You have to understand this is almost all Kyrie Irving essentially guarding Steph Curry. And then I have a little matchup thing here from the finals. And we can kind of go game to game here, right? So game 1, Steph Curry only has 11 points. 11 points, shot 4 of 15 from the field, right? And this was the first game that I watched when essentially the Warriors still won, but I could not believe what Kyrie Irving was doing to Steph Curry. And even though the Warriors won that game, I remember thinking that if Kyrie Irving can do this to Curry for the series, the Warriors are in trouble because, they might have pulled this one out and they got game 2 at home as well. But again, over the term of a series, the Cavaliers are going to win one on the road here because Curry's just not doing it. It's just not getting it, right? And again, there's a few games here, right, where Curry goes off. I mean, that's just what Curry's going to do, right? I mean, you're just trying to win 1 or 2 games against Curry. He gets 38. Steph Curry gets 38, 25, and 30, right? And considering that's Curry's high marks of the series, that just shows you how good of a job Kyrie Irving was doing on Steph Curry. And so if you want to look at this head-to-head matchup, right, Kyrie Irving gets 15 more points, a couple less rebounds, a couple less assists, 3 steals. Again, a lot of those steals are coming off of Curry. Curry had 5 turnovers, 2 more than Irving. Irving played about the same amount of minutes. Neither of them really shot that decent from the field, right? But again, Kyrie Irving doesn't need to be the best offensive player on his team. Curry does for this season. If he is not the best offensive player on his team, the Warriors are in trouble, right? He is the engine that made that team go that year. He shot no free throws, which is big. Means Irving was hounding him while not fouling him. And in fact, if you keep going, he didn't shoot any free throws in the next game. He shot 4 free throws here. He shot 10 in that one, and then 9 in game 6. But again, Kyrie Irving's not really fouling Steph Curry a lot, correct? Game 2, Curry only has 18 points. Now Irving only has 10, right? That's not good. But again, his job isn't necessarily to put the ball in the hole a lot, even though as you can see, they only scored 77 points, the Cavaliers. So, you can tell even if Kyrie Irving is not scoring on the offensive end, the Cavaliers are struggling as well. LeBron can't do it all by himself. I mean, nobody can, right? So Curry only got 18 points here, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, that's a decent stat line. 4 turnovers, and again, Kyrie Irving got 3 more steals. That comes off of Curry mainly. He only played 25 minutes. He had 4 fouls, so they must have sat him for a little longer than usual. And he only got up 11 shots. Now, some people would say, well, 64%, 7 of 11, that's pretty good. Correct, but again, if you're holding Curry to 10 shots or to 11 shots, correct? I think almost anyone in today's game, if you could take that, like if I told you before the game, Curry will only get up 11 shots, everyone would take that. You would take that as a defense in a heartbeat if you could. And then we see game 3 here. The Cavaliers finally get one at home. Kyrie Irving outplays Steph Curry almost everywhere on the floor. Curry only gets 19 points. Curry gets a steal more, but Irving beats him in rebounds and assists. Curry has 6 turnovers. Again, that's largely because of Irving. And then you can also see that Irving even beats him in field goal percentage. Curry only gets up 13 shots. Again, that you see all these other games, 19, 20, 21, 25, right? Anytime you can keep Curry to under 15 total shots, that's probably a win overall. And 3-point percentage, you're getting Curry to hold him to essentially 3 or 4 threes a game made. That's, again, you'll take that for Steph Curry, correct? Game 4, this is the Warriors. So the Warriors go up 3-1. Curry finally has a breakout game, but look at Kyrie Irving. He scores 4. Curry goes off for 38, right? He's like, finally, I have broken through. Irving gets 34, and again, Irving has 3 steals. They're essentially kind of the same in rebounds and assists. 3 turnovers from Steph Curry. So you have to also look at these turnover numbers from Curry. 5, 4, 6, 3, 4, 4, 4. I mean, that's largely Irving hounding him, giving him fits and troubles, and making him make bad passes or just simply losing the ball and Kyrie Irving stealing it from him. He still only shot 44% from the field, which for Curry, you'll take that. Irving still had a good game, 500%, 2 of 6 from the 3. Curry did have a decent game from the 3, 7 of 13, 9 of 10 at the free throw line, right? So Curry finally has a breakout game, but Irving, for all intents and purposes, does cover it up. I mean, Irving matches him almost step for step. And then this is when the Cavaliers start to go off here. Irving goes off for 41, holds Curry to 25. Again, Curry has 4 turnovers. He shoots 38% from the field, 33% from 3. We go to game 6. Curry has another decent game with 30 points. He still only shoots 40%. He's got 4 turnovers. Irving still has an okay game, 23 points. 2 steals. Again, those 4 turnovers from Curry, largely from Irving. Has an okay shooting night, right? But again, the Cavs get the win. Curry, although he scores 30, he had to get up 20 shots to get 30 points. He shot 9 free throws, 6 of 13 from the 3, so he did good there. So, I mean, really, and then we'll just go ahead and do the last game. Curry only has 17 points. I mean, we're talking about game 7. The stakes couldn't be any higher. This is also when Kyrie Irving hits that huge 3 to seal game 7. Sorry, this is game 7. Everything's on the line here. Curry gets 17 points, goes 6 of 19 from the field, 4 turnovers. Irving just absolutely 4-14 from 3, right? Irving kicks it up even another notch in game 7 in terms of looking at these field goal percentages. These were like the worst for the entire series, maybe besides game 1. And you can essentially see here, Curry only, this is what I'm talking about, you're just trying to win, if there's 3-4 games here that Irving, essentially for Curry's purposes, his standard, shuts him down, right? Curry really only has, two really good games and then one good game 5, right? 25 points. That's, by average standards, that's good. But for Curry standards, that's maybe average, a little below average. He has 2 good games with 30 and 38 points, right? And other than that, Curry doesn't get above 20 points. And to me, that's what seals it. That's what seals the series for Cleveland. In my opinion, Kyrie Irving absolutely should have gotten more credit and, maybe even the finals MVP if you really want to look at what he did to Curry on the defensive end. In my opinion, Kyrie Irving was the hero of that series for Cleveland more than LeBron was, right? And if you go look at Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, these other guys, they all had good series, right? And LeBron is not necessarily shutting down any of them, correct? And so everyone else is like having a better series except for Steph Curry, the main guy that they need to make that team go and made them go all year, looking at his stats and their record. And Irving, for all intents and purposes, shuts down Curry by Curry standards, by any objective standards of how good Curry was that year. Irving absolutely shuts down Curry, and he deserves a lot more credit, in my opinion, is the main reason why the 2016 Cavs won that championship. So that's just my hot take on that. Kyrie Irving won the Cavaliers their first ring more than LeBron did.